Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to stuff. Good old stuff. Everybody's got stuff, but some people have more stuff than others, which brings me on to a philosophical question that I've heard a lot since moving to the United States. Do Americans have too much stuff? And I know what you're thinking. Ooh, Lawrence, that's rich coming from a Brit who's surrounded by 16 billion boxes. Well, firstly, I am also American, so these boxes might bolster the argument of the Yes Brigade. But secondly, the boxes are empty, dumped here in the spare bedroom so that they can later be broken down by me and my wife. Mostly me. Entirely me. Of course, the very existence of empty boxes suggests that they once contained possessions, which may or may not be strewn around the rest of the house. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, do that now! In many ways, I've always tried to live my life minimally. In other words, to have the bare minimum of possessions in order to live and live well. So when I moved to America, I was surprised to find that many households indulge in an unconscious practice known as hoarding. And it seems like there are two types of hoarders, right? There are those that will walk into Walmart, clear all of the shelves of the beans and stock up for the apocalypse. That's more conscious. The unconscious hoarders that I've encountered in the United States are those that over a period of time just acquire a lot of stuff. This stuff, whatever it might be, a collection of candlesticks, a beanbag, or a lava lamp from the 90s, can end up in various rooms like the basement where it's out of the way, or the garage that you don't use for your vehicles because you've got a driveway. And my feeling on this is that Americans might well be more predisposed to unconscious hoarding. I think when you account for the fact that American houses on the whole are considerably bigger than those in the United Kingdom, it probably lends itself to this mindset. It's like, ooh, we've got this massive house, right? We can just push all of the stuff we don't use down into the basement where nobody will see it for 3 years, including myself. And what do Americans do when they find all this stuff? One of America's favorite pastimes, not baseball, yard sales. Yard sales, or jumble sales as they're known in the UK, are a big fixture of Midwestern life, especially at this time of year. You'll be driving down the street on your way to Arby's when all of a sudden out of the corner of your eye you see this table containing some porcelain dolls and a sweet vinyl collection. So you pull over, meet some people that you're never going to speak to again in your life, hand them $15 and go home with the best of Kenny Rogers. I was jet lagged. In 2014, the LA Times reported that the average American household contains a whopping 300,000 items. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't even list 300,000 items. And even if I could, the only people that would watch that video are the same people that say, Lawrence, I could honestly watch a YouTube sensation such as yourself read the phone book. To be fair, that's about 3/5 of my audience, which, as fate would have it, is about 300,000 people. But in any case, the number could be dubious. Try as I might to sift through the clutter, I couldn't find a study that corroborates the average number of household items in America. But there are some other telling statistics out there. Remember a few months ago when I said this? Welcome to the first garage that I've ever owned, right here in Illinois, and it's quite a lot bigger than the garage that, I grew up in. I didn't grow up in it. I grew up in a house that had a garage in England, and it was much smaller than this one. It's big enough for 2 cars. We only have 1 car. Well, that same LA Times article reported federal findings that a quarter of Americans who own 2-car garages don't use them for automobiles. If that's you, let us know what you do use them for, but just be advised that the FBI may be vetting the comments. There are roughly 120 million households in America. Around 11% of those, or about 13 million households, are currently renting a storage unit. Now, there could be multiple reasons for this, right? Perhaps they're in flux between one home and another. Perhaps their garage is in the process of being built. Or perhaps they have more stuff than their house can currently house. But to put things into perspective, British households, among the highest users of storage facilities in Western Europe, only rent them at a rate of 2%, almost a sixth the rate of Americans. And instead of speculating on whether or not Americans own too much stuff, whatever the metric for that might be, who better to ask than Americans themselves? In 2016, the online marketplace OfferUp did precisely that. They found that 72% of Americans believed they would gain more space in their homes by purging unused items, while 41% of Americans insisted they hadn't decluttered for over a year. Clearly, America has a stuff problem, or does it? Is the acquisition of material possessions always a bad thing? Well, I think it depends on who you speak to. If you speak to young Lawrence, he'd tell you this. I thrive on clutter. Mind you, that's because I'm a tortured artist whose creative process relies on discarded Kit Kat wrappers. If you ask present-day Lawrence, I'd tell you that perhaps there's room for a happy medium. After all, we each have household items that aren't particularly necessary but are worth keeping around because they're sentimental, like this library book I took out when I was 12, or because they spark joy, like this library book I took out when I was 12. Either way, there's a big part of me that periodically prefers to purge possessions. And given the sheer number of garage sales, it seems that my fellow Americans often feel the same way. And how can we not, especially when it now means we can go for a lie down in that once cluttered spare bedroom. So if you know of any mattress companies that would sponsor my videos, please let me know. And that's it for this episode. I'm Lawrence from Before YouTube Was Invented. If you like this video, go and watch my visit to Lowe's where I picked up more clutter. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS and don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that I don't have to. As ever, a big thank you to my patrons who paid for about 10% of the stuff in my house plus this wig. If you would like to become a patron of Lost in the Pond, you can do so today at patreon.com/LostInThePond. Until the next video, goodbye.